Took a small study break, now I'm back. What am I? D-Day was less than a week ago and I found this place yesterday. The wealth of information helped me try and get my feet under me and prepared me to deal with more truth. I thought much of what I read was cynical and bitter, but I read and understood. After confronting my WW 6 days ago, I had to wait a day while she made up her mind. First, she didn't want to try to R, but then decided she did. I told her that it would require honesty. If I hadn't read here, I would have been totally refloored by the fact she continued lying. I jumped to reality and decided to check her Google search history. I found the emotional affair she first claimed and later said, "We didn't do anything physical, and when we fooled around." I felt so bad I had to stop. Was planned with a momentary concern about STD and had progressed to wedding plans. She had emailed the other man a picture of the wedding ring she had picked out. She had searched culturally appropriate ways to please her other man. She had searched for dirty things in cheap hotels. She told me after stating she wanted to R and that she was trying to rebuild trust that she had intended to end the affair. She texted him only "you dirty" messages the day before D-Day. With a little thought I recognized the abrupt mood changes, the blame shifting and the gaslighting. She said it had been going on several months and then said 5 months. I found it had been over 9 months. Like the fool I am, I confronted again, to receive another claim to sincerely want to R with claims of not realizing it had been that long, but 9 months ago we moved. She just couldn't remember that it had been since before we moved, and that was 9 months ago. She claimed it wasn't physical at first, but her STD searches were 9 months ago. Just feeling like a total idiot sitting here discussing R with her now. Duck my life. I do not think the OM is married. I got to the part where you pay for the service and she said she was going to the emergency room so she wouldn't X herself. She backed off and insisted I had made a decision. I explained nothing was final until the papers are signed and filed with the court, and that I was making it completely clear that I was not going to tolerate any further dishonesty or any further contact. She wrote out the no-contact contract. She has said she agrees to those conditions. Still feeling like a fool. I know it has become a physical affair. She has admitted to giving him a good time, but in Florida that isn't grounds and I have no concrete proof anyway. The wedding ring thing hit me pretty hard too. Good thing I had read about the fog here. I think she has some level of mental dysfunction, though that is pretty close to what anyone would call crazy. She had started a secret savings account and claims it was for us to take a vacation. She said she was planning on ending it, but the day before D-Day she texted her other man, "Only you can spend time with me." Didn't get the full text on recovery, but that sure doesn't sound like someone planning on ending anything. She admitted the text when I restored it to her phone and confronted her, but still maintained she was intending on ending the affair. I am so devastated, and trying to make sense of any of this is so painful and hard. But I realize I am just being a fool. If I read this posted by someone else, I would say, seriously. Timeline with detail. No, I hadn't asked for it. Didn't really want to hear the details. Wasn't as bad as imagining once I went through her Google history and found out. On top of that, she claims her mental capacity doesn't allow her to remember. She does have epilepsy and some damage from heavy medications when very young. Tangentially, yes, that is why I am feeling all the more the fool. She admits to what I have caught her at but tries to minimize. Did I read about that too? And obfuscate. Yeah, she has a special way of manipulating. Again, seems like I read about that here. Me with her, I'm such a terrible person, I don't deserve another chance. I don't deserve anything. Blah, when I know she has serious self-esteem issues. I can't believe I keep falling for it. 180 is a little harder than it seems. The fool that I am doesn't want to see her ego integrity destroyed and thinks that she needs to maintain some self-worth and sense of self if she is going to be able to do the work to our God. I feel like such an idiot. She will soon be in a position to make as much money as I do. I suppose the lawyer thing is a good idea. At this point, when I discuss D with her, she is willing to agree to any reasonable, favorable to me terms. I know I have read here many times that all goes out the window when it actually goes down. Weird, yeah. Hurts to see the effort she put into trying to please her OM, while I have gotten nothing at all for years. Yeah, I'm that kind of fool, been sticking it out hoping one of the many things, including her specific suggestions, I tried would work or she would heal from the pain of our pre-marriage termination. She has turned this into all about her. I just don't feel strong enough to do a 180, and I know she is fragile. I care about her deeply, and as much as I feel vengeful and angry, I don't want to see her destroyed. She is clearly suffering and has deep-seated self-esteem issues. I just don't know how I can do this. I am a deeply caring person and she is the one I care about the most. I guess I am foolishly trying to find some middle ground between 180 and being nice. I think out of fear, loneliness, and pain I have been applying pressure to get her to decide to her behavior has not shown that she is putting real effort into it. The continued lying and minimizing. The turning it to about her, how bad she is and how she deserves nothing. I suspect she continues to lie. She says she never did go to a hotel, but the text from her OM said, "I dreamed about you at the hotel last night." She continues to insist it never involved anything physical, but she was picking out a wedding ring and dress. She did write the NC contract and has left to mail it and pack up and leave her office. I sit here not having slept in 36 hours waiting and wondering if that is what she is doing or if she is going back to her OM. Beyond that, I suspect next time I go to work I will come home to find she has packed what she needs and left. How am I supposed to find the strength to 180 in this condition, under these circumstances? I sit like a fool waiting to see if she is genuinely trying to or just stringing me along. Would she even have the balls to call and say she wasn't coming back today? Does she have the strength to get what she needs together and leave when I go back to work mid-next week? Why do I have to sit here in agony with nothing but crushing doubt? I don't really have too much to worry about STD, as we haven't bonded in more than a year. I did tell her she needed to get checked immediately. I just don't have the strength or hardness of heart to 180 right now. I'd never tell someone who threatened X herself to go ahead. That is just wrong because of my training and experience. I can't show her I don't care because I do. She certainly has been and continues to be selfish and has shown very much in the way of real concern about what she has done to me. I am working up the strength to have the D paperwork filled out and ready. I really think that is what I need to do. If she has the balls to call and say she doesn't want to R, then I might be able to have her sign and go to the court with me right then. In Florida you can do dissolution with mutual agreement, but I would have to do up a financial agreement. We have a fair amount of financial business, but not too much. How am I supposed to get up the strength and mental wherewithal to go through our credit cards, car loan, student loans, and bank accounts, do an accounting, and write up an agreement? She has used that as one of her reasons for not telling me. She says she has been worried about me for years and was afraid I might hurt myself. I wonder if that was a concern when she was picking out a wedding dress, ring, and flowers. Still wanting to R makes me feel even more so. Investing everything, heart, mind, long and short-term planning, etc., into something that seems to have disappeared so completely makes me feel like a fool. Your reasons for her being upset not only make sense but match what I see. I'm not sure where on the list my hurt falls, but I haven't seen much that makes seem like it's at the forefront of her mind. I guess I am still in denial about what it means that things have gone so far. You may be right that she is gone, but that is just too much for me to absorb, believe, process right now. I don't know if I could ever trust her again. I am willing to see what would come of MC, ever the fool. Your 2 years or less prediction matches with what happens almost all the time, and I know it. I agree that you're the only one who can have me, and as I dreamed about you at the hotel text and the day before D-Day make clear there was a physical affair on a regular basis. Somehow, I cling to denial, trying to believe her claim of nothing physical happened. However, the fact that physical affair is the legal line in Florida chips away at denial. Her claim that her disability prevents her from remembering a timeline with any accuracy rings false. I confronted her with the wedding plans. She didn't deny it. She also didn't seem to step up to take responsibility or show substantial remorse. It obviously goes much further than she has taken responsibility for or frankly admitted to. I find it hard to give up my commitment and walk away from something I have put 12 years and everything I have into without at least giving it a try with professional help. Things may be too far gone, and a part of me wants that to be recognized in a neutral setting with a qualified witness under calm and structured conditions. I'm thinking if that becomes clear in an MC session, it would prevent the blame shifting and suicide-threatening behavior. I was figuring I'd see a lawyer right after our first session, which is scheduled for early next week. Then I have to go back to work, wondering what will go on while I am at work all night and what will await me when I get home. She has spent some time stating she wants to R and is committed to doing everything she can, but that was this morning after the second confrontation. She had been saying she wanted to try and continuing to lie for the last few days. She hasn't ever said anything about blaming me for the termination, but I see your point about my protector status being shattered. I wish we had pursued counseling on the issue. Not to be cold, but it was something I had dealt with before and didn't see it as the problem it was for her. She sought counseling and got a really bad therapist who dismissed her problem with it and then dismissed her summarily without closure or referral. I think she has pretty clearly realized the relationship with her other man was not going to lead to healthy growth, but I don't know the real truth behind that. They are both in the counseling profession. Perhaps she entertains the idea that with him she would be able to work on her issues. She pulled out the last trick of a truly selfish person and used it to manipulate me, and you're right, it worked. I can't help but care and don't know how to manage emotional detachment right now. I'm probably codependent. I am hoping the MC we are supposed to see is halfway decent and could help with D or R, at least provide a structure to help me realize if it can be salvaged, and if not, deal with accepting and going through the process. I know there is nothing that will bother my WW more deeply than the realization that the person who knew her best and cared the most is the person she totally betrayed and pushed out of her life. As lonely and in pain as things may be for me, I know I loved and gave and honored my commitment, and that it is not my fault, except for making a poor choice of partner. That's part of the reason I have tried to maintain some niceness and have continued to show I care. I'm not going to have a foul taste in my mouth over how I conducted myself or feel guilt and shame. Some in this forum may find this a lack of manliness, but I feel quite the opposite. I do realize the validity of their evidence of track records and insight into dynamics, but I'm not in it to win it. I'm living according to my values and beliefs, treating human beings with care as part of that, as is being genuine and having feelings. I am considering disclosure. Her family is a really sticky issue. They have done her more harm than good, and I don't think they are a good influence on anything they have anything to deal with. The other man, though, I could send a letter to his job and to his professional association, perhaps the state licensure board. His professional organization's code of ethics includes not engaging in, condoning dishonesty. There is actually some evidence in my WW's search history that she was seeking how to discourage unwanted attention. She had even read some articles on how workplace flirtations, emotional affairs are wrong and dangerous. She knows my weaknesses and is playing them all against me full strength. What am I supposed to do to find this strength in time? I am dealing with this in the here and now. I wish my brain were working well enough to let me evaluate what I am considering trying to save. It does indeed seem like her behavior is damage control or time buying, and the level and extent she is trying to fix the marriage seems lacking. She overwhelmed and had what could be considered a disability, another weakness in me she exploits, so I'm not sure how much I can expect. She managed to use the X herself threat to manipulate me. If it happens again, I'm definitely calling cops. Both of the suggestions mentioned are in this thread. It's hard for me to think about what she is getting out of this. Paying the bills is definitely part of it. After 11 years of marriage, she is on the verge of professional status, and that is when she decides to cheat. Clearly, much of what I thought she was getting out of it is not what I thought. Someone who knows her, cares, understands, and seeks to help. I thought love was also something she and I were both getting. Obviously, she sought much of that elsewhere and wasn't really giving it. Things like someone you can trust and count were not there, at least from her. Although she continues to manipulate me to see that she can still count on me to care. I thought another part was someone who understood her desires was shattered by the termination was a part also, but again reality tells a different story. The termination was before we married, so I guess it was something not dealt with for too long and a fake crutch. I don't know if I feel she would be all in for counseling. I guess that is one of the things I was thinking would show if she is sincere about attempting to R. This is exactly, really, what the 180 is about. It's not about pretending to be something you're not. I have difficulty with that, too, and so don't follow it to the letter. It's about letting the person who has broken your heart and who is already gone go, while maintaining your dignity and sanity. I hope you'll go back to this and remember you said it in the dark times that may come, when you'll know in your heart of hearts that she's manipulating you. And it will help you to do that. I also enjoy not giving my STBX any further validation that what he's doing is the right thing, other than the ridiculous, blame-shifting crap he tells himself. So, I don't beg, plead, blame, or argue with him. When he says something stupid and insensitive, like the other night, when he told me that my being in such good shape will really help me when I'm back in the dating scene, I just pleasantly say something like, okay, thanks for the advice, as if he just suggested a brand of toothpaste I should try, and walk away or change the subject. He can't truthfully say to his friends behind my back stuff like I can't wait to get out of here. She's being such a bee because I'm just not. I will walk away from this whole experience with a clean conscience and with dignity. His conscience will never be fully clean again. If I weren't still so angry with him, I'd already feel sorry for him. My next trick is to not let the anger consume me. I'm working it out with all the walking, so I'm hopeful that day is coming, too. I do already feel sorry for her, but in my work, I see suffering and passing on a regular basis. I have learned to feel regret and sorrow for the pain and loss of others while continuing to function at a high level. Hopefully this skill will prevent her from being able to manipulate me with my sympathy for her. I think she has an almost sociopath inability to process how she is truly not clean in so many ways. It becomes a self-pity party, not a deep realization that her actions reflect a true lack of character, values, and basic decency. I have always tried to understand that she doesn't process thoughts as someone without her disability does, but I don't know if this leaves enough of the kind of person I value to be married to. I had an ex who worked in an animal shelter and some dogs were just put down because they didn't have what it took to be a pet. I could love a simple-minded person, but I don't know if I could have the depth of a relationship needed for marriage with someone who lacked a genuine understanding of responsibility, or the ability to apply that understanding in a meaningful way. I have a cat for simple companionship and soft warmth. Part of what I have contributed is understanding and support. I don't think I am willing to accept and understand someone without a functional conscience, and it is going to be very hard to offer any support. I don't think I feel sorry for her, I pity her. I empathize with her current agony, but like I said, I have professional separation skills. She's going to have to start showing that attitude and acting in a manner that reflects it. Starting earlier today, I may have been manipulable, but not really so easily fooled. I'll see how her behavior goes and what she brings to the table in MC. As much as I am committed to try, it's going to take a metric ton from her to convince me we are doing anything but winding it down with professional help. She's in behavior counseling. Tomorrow is her last day at the job where she shares an office with her other man. Again, my level of belief that after sending texts about only you can eat me and receiving texts about dreamt of you in the hotel. Thursday, with one phone call. Sunday, she went in on Monday and they had nothing but a civil and brief work-only interaction all week. If she's just buying some time, I hope she is getting her ducks in a row. She'll be out the door fast. The 180 would simply be, and there will be no fourth chance. D-Day, second confrontation is all there is in me. I get a different kind of anger when I'm done with someone. Cole doesn't even begin to describe how I detach when I'm through with someone. I've done it before with my first wife, my mother, and others. It's not moving on, it's moved. I am definitely going to be getting a referral from the MC, for I see I have been hanging on in a non-physical loving marriage because I felt partly responsible for my loss of her desires. According to her, she has had no interest, well, except for an emotional she put a stop to promptly 3 years ago, until this physical affair. I have enjoyed being there for her as she dealt with many issues, went to grad school and embarked on a career path. She was there for me as I went to school and started my career before that. And before that we had a pretty intense codependent struggle for survival in the modern economy. She's been a solidly mediocre housewife and always tolerated me basically doing my thing. Only in looking back now do I see I have been playing martyr or just existing. I have only recently realized how little I was getting back in terms of support, understanding, or caring. Before I got serious with my I was in a pretty dark place. I was 30 dating 18 to 24-year-old and treating them like crap. I was drinking heavily, riding my motorcycle, and being pretty much scum. In deciding I loved her and should treat her decently, I changed. In honoring my commitment to build a life for us, I became a professional, quit or drastically reduced my vices, and grew into, returned to being a decent person and upstanding member of society. Hopefully I can carry that forward and build a life for myself being the ethical, caring person I am at heart. I really don't think I can tolerate being drained and not replenished anymore. I am willing to give her a chance, but the damage she has done to the possibility of us reclaiming a bonding life, and the fact I really wonder if she has much to offer in terms of caring about me, my thoughts and feeling, my interests. I'm not sure there is something worth saving for me. I now totally realize I am jeopardizing my chances of R by being a petulant, miserable person repeatedly confronting my WW. Still, when I have questions or suspicions, I stew on them until the next time I get a chance to confront. This is something I am working hard to try and change. I also don't think withdrawing is the best way to build a new relationship. I may be proven wrong. The advice here has been shown right again and again. My WW has come around a great deal. Showing some remorse and realizing the questions and suspicion are the consequences of her actions. She is making great strides in not becoming hostile and defensive, and in not turning everything around to be about her. Not Just Friends book seems to be very useful for her. So, at this point she is doing all the right things. Our first appointment at MC went well. WW thinks the MC is biased towards me. I pointed out probably appropriate therapeutic support for a BS more, but she may have a point. The subject of no contact and no attempt at contact from the other man came up. As the fog is lifting, far too slowly for my comfort, the idea that the other man wasn't deeply in love with her. Love of his life, marriage discussed, but with shock upon shock perhaps lying to her has occurred. The proposed alternative, respect for her desire to work on her marriage and respect for her wishes. I pointed out respect for our marriage is out of the question based on intentional seduction, an ongoing secret of the beginning of a glimmer of recognition and the memory of some red flags she had ignored. I blurted out the obvious, it's not respect, it's that the OM has something to lose. This led to her feeling like a fool. Sadness that what she had thought was a love born in the wrong place at the wrong time was possibly just a manipulative piece of crap exploiting her vulnerability. So sad. How incredibly narcissistic, no thought or consideration of how what she had done might have impacted someone else. If the OM has something to lose, that means he is cheating on a partner of some sort. What about some idea of the impact on that partner or the responsibility for doing that to someone? No ducking enlightenment that there is a fourth involved party in what they have done to that person. Just self-pity. My WW is now doing everything she should. We have seen MC twice and that is helping. I realize I need to do the 180 aspects that are improving myself, both for myself and to become the kind of man my wife would be interested in. I'll admit my efforts have been somewhat feeble. It's hard for me, but I am trying. I have a great deal of anger, frustration, and hurt. It is hard not to express that, and do so all too often. I realize women are not attracted to men who say they are frustrated and hurt, and that a lack of interest or attempt towards bonding is painful and resented. I have heard what has been said and recognize its validity. I'm just having trouble enacting it. It's not easy to be cheerful and positive when I feel the way I do. It's not easy to ignore the triggers, push down the memories, and project myself as a strong man with confidence in my person and attractiveness. As the WW and I are working on I am just doing the parts of the 180 which involve taking better care of myself. The part that is hard is not acting emotionally weak or undermining my masculinity. I have made some strong steps in that direction, but inside I feel wounded and emasculated. I have acknowledged my needs and wants and made it clear that if our marriage cannot fulfill them, then it is not going to work for me. I was quite blunt in expressing my anger in an MC session and frankly laid out how I felt some of her explanations were bull crap, and said I wasn't interested in hearing any more. Our MC feels going into details about what happened during the is not constructive. I know that's not popular here, but I don't need any more triggers. My WW is very rationalizing and drops a lot of crappy digs into her explanations. I don't really need to hear what happened the way she seems to think is acceptable to tell it. On top of it, I did enough hardcore detective work to uncover pretty accurately what happened, when, where etc. I have enough details and a solid timeline based more on evidence than what she has said. My WW is doing a great deal of heavy lifting now and dealing with my feelings and admitting what she did, how wrong it was, and showing remorse. She is no longer getting defensive, admits to doing horribly wrong things, apologizes for them and for the pain it caused me. She is being open with her phone and her activities. What she is not doing is taking steps to reignite our relationship. It has been many long, cold, dry winters, and she is not comfortable getting things going and is feeling very freaked out that I am interested. This is an area where I have to work on being an attractive man, not a needy, pushy one. But in my mind, she needs to get on the ball when it comes to making me feel wanted and satisfied. I have been reading the books, and no nicer guy is great. I am not jumping to forgive. It's not in my nature, and that is part of the reason she is freaking out about my wanting to get things going in the right direction. I'm just not interested in being angry, bitter, and hurt all the time. I know most RS fail, and honestly it is becoming clearer to me that it would be her loss, less so for me. I already lost what I thought I had. If our relationship can be worked out and be fulfilling to me, that would be wonderful. But as I don't have that, I don't have much to lose. I am also aware that many a WS relapses, and that would just be finality for me. It's not like I would lose someone I trust or count on to look out for me. If it happens, I'm done, and when I'm done, I handle it pretty well. She was definitely attracted to the bad boy, but I always treated her with kindness and some respect. I think there were elements of my nature that weren't necessarily bad boy that were very attractive, and I am working at allowing them to be reborn. I love to ride and am getting the motorcycle I have wanted for 15 years. I was very independent and went out and had fun whenever and wherever I wanted. I was a smart lad and very flirty in a distinctly masculine way. I was a happy person who found or made fun in many ways and was smart and careful at the same time. If my darker and more malevolent side is what she was so attracted to, that is a bit of a problem. I can be a calculating, malicious guy and can really mess with people. I think she is more scared by that than attracted to it. She also knows it hasn't gone away. I may be a calm grown-up man, but I'm really not somebody to mess with. I know how to put PPL in a world of hurt specially tailored to their weaknesses and fears and deliver the pain methodically and effectively. She is afraid I am setting her up in my efforts to let's just say her fears are misplaced. I realize there is a little of the fog going on the background of what she is saying. Perhaps more than a little. Her little heartbreak, how truly pathetic. She hasn't realized she was totally played. I don't know if it is worth my time and effort to drive that home. What do you think? If so, how? I have been thinking of writing out a playbook. The techniques and strategy used on her were so textbook I think it would resound. How truly weak and obviously willing does one have to be to fall for such a scheme? In just a few hours of thinking I remembered how to lay the trap so well. Then I went back to the timeline and it seemed cheesy, it was so obvious. And yes, I did say obviously willing. You don't fall for such blatant bait if you're not looking to. I have to say it doesn't bother me to think you're not going to deal with it or get over it because it will never be undone. She's going to have to know what she did forever. To me, dealing with having been a fool and having been so deeply hurt and betrayed doesn't seem as bad as knowing one acted so truly crappy. Perhaps her fog and her rewrite of history will function better than I imagine, but I think she's always going to know she really messed over someone who loved her and treated her better than anyone ever has or will. Don't know how much fog remains making her think the other man was so wonderful to her. But I do know she knows I put in 12 years of full-time caring for and loving. I think I am making some progress in this complicated arena. I am starting to realize, accept, understand the difference between loving the WW and loving having someone with me. Having someone I can count on, etc. The affair has opened my eyes a great deal. I don't really love having someone with me who doesn't show me warmth, compassion, and passion. Just being there doesn't cut it for me. Clinging to her presence is not very satisfying, and being alone doesn't seem as frightening when compared to being stuck in a am that is unhappy and painful for me. Clearly, I don't have someone I can count on. On balance, being with someone I can't trust, who doesn't show compassion for me and who doesn't show interest and enjoyment in being with me doesn't seem like a better situation than being alone. I long for companionship and love, but if my marriage continues to be so incredibly poor at providing those things, I'm better off alone with the possibility of finding a relationship that could please, satisfy, and fulfill me. Kind of sad to let something I have put 12 years into and the closeness develop, but spilled milk is spilled. I haven't gotten much out of RM in some time. I can take care of myself. I am pretty sure I can be at least as content alone. I don't need to martyr myself. It is entirely possible I can find relationships that bring me more pleasure and less pain, perhaps even probable. Short version, loneliness is probably better than pain and betrayal. The MC we have been doing has been crisis intervention, and the counselor thinks we are past that stage. I have to say the MC, although being very supportive of me, is definitely in the rug sweeping camp, and that isn't something I am too comfortable with. I wrote a letter to my WW and laid out that this wasn't one mistake and a few solid details of what she had done. I included that it was premeditated and ongoing, that she had engaged in an extended pattern of deception, and that she had failed to attempt to work on RM but had instead been destructive. I pointed out her minimization and blame shifting. I included some details known to me that she may not have been aware I knew. It was very painful, but I think it helped me in acceptance. Although harsh and blunt, the tone was factual. Before I gave it to her to read, I told her it was not something I wanted to discuss or hear her reply, but that I needed her to understand what I was thinking. I'm not really sure where I am at now. We are attempting but I don't know if I can get over what she did. This was a 9-month affair that started with deliberately bringing the other man to our brand new apartment and was escalating up until the day she was caught. She has difficulty or issues in being physical with me, but didn't in her IMH having real trouble seeing RM as something that can be happy and satisfying for me. My WW has stopped the spiteful backhanded crap and is really doing a good job with much of the heavy lifting. She just doesn't seem to be able to give me what I would like and need. Having dealt with this struggle for 10 years, I am of two minds. One is that some more time is appropriate, and another that is just plain worn out, frustrated and over it. After 12 years of marriage, with full intent for it to be forever, the thought of seeking companionship and bonding in the dating scene is depressing and frightening. I'd hate to think I am settling for something that will carry pain and not meet my needs or fill my desires out of fear, resignation, familiarity, or a sense of obligation. I really don't know where I am heading or how things will turn out. I know these are questions I have to answer for myself, but insight and advice would be appreciated. This is a very difficult time for me. I am sad, lonely, deeply hurt, crushed and emasculated, not to mention furiously angry and utterly disgusted. Work has been intensely difficult. I have had to deal with people in tragic conditions, with frankly gross wounds, and on top of that, motorcycle. I don't have close friends, and the friends I do have are pretty much of the opinion that the affair was something that means I should or at least have a revenge affair. My comment. Part 2 coming soon. Thanks for all your recent support. I mean it. I took my first break over months yesterday, and now I am back full force. So sub and bell, and I will see you in the upcoming stories.